In the 1st century, the Roman Empire was at its peak. Its armies ruled with iron discipline. Its emperors demanded loyalty and often worship. Across the empire, hundreds of gods were worshipped. Temples stood tall. Rituals, blood, incense. It was a world full of belief. But in one small corner, Judea, a different story was beginning. A carpenter's son from a nowhere town was about to change the course of history. His name was Jesus of Nazareth. Born around 4 to 6 BCE, raised in Galilee. He worked with his hands, knew the Torah, and spoke with power. Not political, not violent, but moral. He preached love to the enemy, the coming of a new kingdom, not Rome's kingdom, but God's. He healed. He taught. He stirred the crowds. To some, he was the long-awaited Messiah. To others, a threat. By around 30 CE, he was arrested, tried under Roman authority, and executed on a cross outside Jerusalem. Public, brutal, humiliating, a warning to others. That should have been the end. But his followers claimed it was only the beginning. He was placed in a tomb. They said he rose from the dead. Not metaphorically, not spiritually, but physically. They claimed to have seen him, eaten with him, touched him. At first they were afraid and scattered. Then these men and women became bold and even fearless. They called Jesus Lord, not just teacher, not prophet, but something more. This belief in a crucified and risen Messiah became the foundation of Christianity. They didn't set out to start a new religion. They believed they were fulfilling the ancient promises of Judaism. But their message began to spread, and it didn't stay in Judea. Enter Paul of Tarsus. He was once a major persecutor of Christians. Then Paul claimed that a vision of the risen Jesus changed him forever. He became the movement's greatest missionary. Paul traveled across the empire, Asia Minor, Greece, Rome, preaching not only to Jews, but to Gentiles. Romans, Greeks, anyone who would listen. He taught them that faith in Jesus, not rituals or law, made a person right with God. This opened the door wide, and Christianity began to move beyond its Jewish roots. Paul wrote letters, some of which became part of the New Testament. In them we see a movement in motion, full of questions, debates, tension, and unstoppable momentum. Growth, persecution, and identity. The early Christians had no buildings, no armies, no political power, but they had a message, and it spread. In cities and villages, believers met in homes, they broke bread, they sang hymns, they baptized in rivers, but they also paid a price. Christians refused to worship the Roman gods. They refused to call Caesar Lord. This made them enemies of the state. Persecutions came in waves under emperors like Nero, 54 CE, Domitian, 81 CE, and later Diocletian, 284 CE. Some Christians were jailed, some brutally killed, many scattered, but with each blow the movement grew stronger. As Christianity spread, questions multiplied. Who was Jesus, man, God, or both? What books are sacred? What does salvation really mean? By the 2nd and 3rd centuries, Christian thinkers like Ignatius, Justin Martyr, and Irenaeus began shaping doctrine. Creeds were formed, false teachings were challenged. A canon, what we now call the New Testament, began to take shape. This wasn't theology in a vacuum. It was forged under fire, in prisons, under threat, often by candlelight. But very soon, everything changed. In 313 CE, Emperor Constantine issued the Edict of Milan. Christianity was now legal. And in 325 CE, he called the Council of Nicaea to settle disputes about Christ's nature. It was held in Iznik, which is modern-day Turkey. The result? The Nicene Creed, a statement of belief that still echoes today in churches around the world. By 380 CE, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. A once outlawed movement, hunted, beaten, burned, was now in the halls of power. Some called it victory. Others saw danger, a faith aligned with empire. But there was no going back. Christianity was born in a tiny area of a vast empire. It had no temples, no soldiers, no money. Only a crucified man, and a message his followers refused to let die. Over 2,000 years later, the story is still being told, believed, challenged, wrestled with. But one thing is certain, the birth of Christianity changed the world, not by the sword, but by the word. It began with 12. Now it spans continents. This is not just history. Its legacy, and the story is still unfolding. Subscribe to the Primal Text for more.